Like, what I want to ask is this about TL though. What do you think the flaw of TL is? Because the problem I have with that team is basically I've had the whole of last split, and now I've got this period. The lineup's just never, like, on paper it looks amazing, mate. It looks like you should just win NA hands down easily. It never seems like it actually works in the game.
I do think TL has historically, not just this roster, had a problem when Koji isn't playing a champ with direct agency, either winning lane hard or a champ that can do something. He's much better. His team is a lot better when he's playing melee champs that can engage and facilitate. When he's playing champs like Nata, it doesn't look the same unless he wins lane really hard, because their mid jungle is mostly just playing tanks and scaling. And Whippo also seems to be doing a lot better when he's playing a champ that can actually like do something, not a GP type champion, some sort of like Ornn, Gragas, Aatrox type of champion. Whether they're meta or not isn't that important. Like, you see fucking Wonders making magic happen with Gragas all the time. I think that will benefit, TL. I thought last split when people was playing like Renekton and Gragas, he was making magic happen everywhere in the whole game.
Sure, yeah.
I think that facilitates Hans Sama and Bjergsen, who are like, I wouldn't say passive players. Hans Sama's a good laner, but they don't play champs right now that do something in the game. So they're playing most control mages, which I think is the meta in mid lane, Corki control mages, right? And someone has to start a fight. But in these games, Gangplank, Corki, Udyr, who's gonna start a fight? It's just there's nothing there. So I think that's what they need right now is J or Whippo to play more facilitating champions that can actually start a fight and do something. Tanks, for example. And I think that's our biggest issue. They are still 5-3. 5-2, I believe. So they aren't doing that badly. They're just not doing that well either.
Well, I think if you use the eye test, like, they should have lost both games last week.
Yes, to FlyQuest, yeah, sure.
And they like caught a throw. And then it's also some of their wins have been a little shaky. And then when they lose, they just they got completely rolled by 100 Thieves, despite having the advantages we talked about. And it's weird because you look at, I'm curious what your thoughts on Hans Sama are, because he's been surprisingly weak, I think, since joining this roster. And if I would have thought, okay, we got a Kalista, maybe some Pocket Draven picks coming around, like, seems pretty good around the world. This should be like the Hans Sama meta, and it just isn't. It just fucking isn't. So
all the champs that he's good at are meta. Lucian Nami was something he was good at. Kalista was one of his best champions. Draven, Senna, like, all these champs are his best champions. So it should be his meta for sure. And Koji should be, on paper, best support next to Vulcan. So it's weird that they aren't having more success in Ball recently. I think that some games, like against TSM, they pick this like ego matchups, like they picked Ezreal Bard against Kalista Renata, and you just don't win at any level. And it felt like they were kind of like egoing a little bit on their opponents, like saying, yeah, TSM fucking dog shit, we can play, Kalista, we can play this matchup even though it's really bad for us because we're better. And then they got rolled and died in lane multiple times, and Hans Sama got caught multiple times against FlyQuest. He died in lane 1v1, he died mid-game 3 times, I think, that I can remember in my head right now. So he's been having a pretty bad split overall. I think in spring he was decent, but I paid less attention in spring because I wasn't playing. Now I'm watching games more closely and paying more attention to how people are playing and stuff. But yeah, I do think he's been very underwhelming given how good he was at Worlds and how much he was praised at Worlds.
This is just a cycle of Hans Sama, mate, though, because I've seen this. It's happened at 2 Worlds now. There was obviously the Season 7 one I referred to earlier, the Misfits SKT one, and then now there was the Rogue one, where because Rogue looked a bit dodgy, like, he got to look super good. Here's the cycle that Hans Sama goes through. He is the player where he's always the most underrated, like, oh, he's the hipster pick, like, I think he's, like, secretly the best. So then he's underrated, but then the problem is, so many people eventually say he's underrated, that he becomes overrated, because then he's just the best, isn't he? And he's never been, like, just a permanent best, like, 2 years in a row, like, wow, mind-blowing ADC. He's just a really good ADC, but he's not like some fucking, he's not faker, is he? Come on.
It's hard to say, because Rogue bot lane was by far the best duo in lane EU for a long time. They were really good in lane. Everyone said Rogue bot lane best in lane. They're super good in lane. They play Morgana, Kaylin, they play Kalista, they play all this kind of stuff, and they're super good. Hard to play against Draven, everything. And then they go to Worlds, and Trimby was playing really poorly, I think, in lane. He was dying in almost every single game in lane. And Hans Sama was maintaining the 0-0x KDA, where he's not dying, he's not losing the game for his team. He's making some plays here and there, like a solo kill on Ghost, I remember that one. Picks off Khan on cycling one time. He's doing some plays here and there, and overall, solid performance, right? And then he goes to NA in a really good team, stack team, super team, so to speak, and he's not doing anywhere near as good as he was before. And Trimpy is still doing well in EU in Rogue. So it's a bit hard to tell what's going wrong for Hansama, but
here's what kills me, dude. I think the bot lanes, look, no offense to you, but I think the bot lanes in NA are pretty fucking weak.
I actually don't think so, but more on that later, because I think that when I came to NA and TSM in 2018, I also didn't play anywhere near as good as I did in EU. So it's possible that he has problems adjusting. Like, he has no friends here, which I didn't have when I came here. He doesn't have any like social life outside of scrims, which hurt me and Mithy, for example, because some people really rely on having social, friends or like activities outside of scrims. It's like people like Mithy and Amazing need that to perform. I don't personally that much, but it helps, right? So that could be something that's going wrong with him. Like maybe he doesn't have, maybe he just isn't happy in his team for whatever reason, right? Sometimes teams don't mesh personally. It happened to C9 last year. Our biggest enemy was ourselves. I got benched because of personal problems between players, and that might be solved now between the people that were involved back then. But it hurt us as a team, at that moment. So it's hard to always know the full story to a team like this. I do think Hansama, straight up, the eye test is not playing as well as he was last year in summer and in at Worlds. So something is going wrong for sure. But about the bot lanes in NA, I do think that the top bot lanes are actually pretty decent right now compared to historically. I think that FBI Hui, solid, in lane phase especially. Korji Hansama should be good on paper. Not playing well right now, but they're good players still, right? Vulcan and Danny, Springs with champions. Vulcan is the best support in the league right now, or it's the best performing support player by far. It's not even close, in my opinion. Danny is solid. Has some champion pool issues. Like you will never see EG playing Kalista or Lucian, probably, in this whole split. But they find ways around it, so Danny can play MF. Or he played Seraphine this week. He did well on that, I think, sort of. So, EG Blind, best in the league. And I think me and Berserker, we're trailing behind. But once we get there, we'll be a strong duo. And I think that the overall level, there's like 4 good duos this year. Whereas in the past, I always thought like...
Oh, you mean historic, right? Okay.
Yeah, sure. that's like Double Lift, Core
Yeah.
DK and Sizzle aren't bad, but they're not good either. There's me and Mithy and me and Smoothie. It wasn't that great back then. So I think nowadays, duos are pretty good in NA.
Sure. And
even at Worlds, I thought like FBI and Hui played decently well at Worlds. I think that they held their own against, 2 of the premier ball lanes in the world in T1s and EG's ball lanes. So
want to see more cool, funny, interesting clips based on topics from my content? Well, subscribe to this channel then, or, be a pleb and don't.